Before the video, I just want to give a quick update that with the new editing software that I've been using, it's getting increasingly difficult to put all the card images on screen, so I will be not putting quite as many of them up, just the ones that we're directly talking about. Apologies for the inconvenience.
We've got, I think, maybe our pick for best card of the year.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to your bicentennial episode of EDHTakes. It's the Christmas season, and we're here to bring some joy.
Yeah, you get an episode this month for Christmas.
Merry Christmas, or Happy grateful. Holidays, maybe.
It's the season of giving, so what'd you get us?
Well, anyway, I'm Spencer Cook.
And I'm Elijah Samuelson.
And we're glad to be back, at least momentarily.
Yeah, so for this episode with the Christmas season, we're up here in Fargo, North Dakota. We've probably mentioned that before. And anyone around this area, or like just in North Dakota in general,
like southern Canada, Midwest area.
I think they'd be aware that we've had a bit of a rough go of it over the last week and a half. I've been forced to exercise against my will to shovel and be outside in the cold. So we've had a very white winter so far. And I was thinking, you know what, we're in for a white Christmas too. Mm-hmm. And we need to do a Christmas special episode. And what else is white? Magic cards that we like playing
Magic
sometimes.
Cards that have been reprinted from in 8th edition.
So I was like, that's a thin enough connection for a concept to do an episode, a Christmas special, about white commander cards from the last year. Yeah,
Eli, you and I are known for our maybe a little controversial, but our love of white cards. A lot of people, at least back in my day, Eli, white was a poison. People hated it so much. They were so mad that white wasn't getting the stuff, and we were dissenting opinions.
Yeah, I feel like that's still, it's not like a hatred so much. It's more like it's like a dismissal of any time like a new white card comes out, or like we get like 5 great new white cards every set, like as we're gonna kind of sort of demonstrate throughout this episode. Commander podcasts like the Command Zone, classic a Jimmyism or a Joshism sometimes say, this is a good start. Mm-hmm. Give me like 50 more of these,
and then we'll be talking. Then we'll talk,
and then white will be okay in Commander. But it's like, well, you've been saying that
for 3 years now,
for many years,
yeah.
And this year alone, I think it's just been an embarrassment of riches. Like we talked about last year in our sort of end of the year Christmas episode, we did Boros Revisited, and we talked about many of the amazing things for Boros that happened over just that last year. And this year, oh my God, for white cards, it's just been insane.
Yeah, people always will say, if at some point white was, underpowered as maybe a monocolor deck, or even just as like a 2-color deck or something. At some point, when Wizard starts printing more and more good monocolor white effects, or even, multicolor white effects, stuff like that, at some point, you're going to just be a normal color, right? And Eli and I think are here to make the case that, if it hasn't happened before this year, it's certainly happened by this year.
Yeah, and I would even maybe make the argument, and as I felt for a long time, I kind of did have the feeling, like if you're playing a certain way, or like building a deck a certain way, that you could build a mono white deck that's like as good, if not better, than a lot of commander decks.
Yeah.
But the argument was always like, well, you have to play certain cards, you have to play very expensive cards, or you have to play kind of cutthroat or mean. Mm-hmm. You can't really play a very proactive game in mono white because all of your good, powerful things are like based around board wipes or stacks effects or tax effects.
And some of the most common things that were missing, people said stuff like ramp and card draw, maybe. Like you were saying, stuff like these proactive, like good, maybe mid-range creatures or mid-range like value cards.
Yeah.
I mean, there's dozens of them now.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like we did a search before doing the show for white cards from the last year that we wanted to talk about, and we even left quite a few off. But the amount of white cards that draw cards from this year, and I think that was the glaring weakness of mono white, was that it didn't have amazing card draw, or if it did, like I think it was kind of fine. Like you could produce card advantage, but like raw card draw,
yeah,
was kind of you kind of had to jump through some hoops.
You had to jump through some hoops.
You had to like do some things, and like it was achievable, but it wasn't very common, and it wasn't very like obvious. Like, oh, do simple thing, draw a card,
and sometimes not affordable.
Right? Yeah. So, but the ramp argument I never thought was something that really held much water, because if you look at the colors in Commander, white's actually the really only other color that effectively puts extra lands into play.
Mm-hmm.
And every other color just relies on mana rocks, and there's honestly really nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with mana rocks at all. If you see, 9 out of 10 decks that aren't green, like they're doing just fine with their, 10 2-mana rocks.
Yeah,
and white can do that too.
I guess I think how people get this idea in their head that the other colors are much better at mana production than white, or like ramping than white, is because blue, black, and red all have like very explosive like ritual type cards, or like black has the mana doublers and like Cabal coffers and stuff.
Yeah.
Blue has like a high tide, or like just things that untap all of your lands and stuff. So they have things that produce a lot of explosive turns through a lot of mana, but they don't necessarily like put more lands into play, and that's generally what we would consider ramp, right?
And even these days, white does have a couple ways to do them, although they're either not as powerful or not as common. Like, what is it, Sarah's Sanctuary or Sarah's Sanctum, whatever the card's called. Like,
Sarah's Sanctum.
You need like a specific deck for it, but it can do. Yeah,
we've got like Smothering Tithe is probably like the biggest one.
I think white decks might be some of the best poised to abuse Nykthos. So
yeah, Nykthos is a big one for me.
But
it's not like great. And you know what? I think, in my opinion, I think that's a great thing. I think that's a fine thing, because you can attest to this, Spencer. Like, what's one of the most upsetting things for you in Commander?
When someone plays some extremely fast mana cards on turn 3 or something, and the game just gets blown open by a Dockside or a Mana Geyser or something like that, or Jessica's Will.
Yeah, Commander players be like, wow, I feel so behind when I don't have my turn 1 Mana Crypt into Jessica's Will into Dockside Extortionist for a couple of treasures. And it's like,
it's pretty frustrating when I'm playing a deck and I don't draw like an early mana rock, and the game ends before I can play my Farewell on turn 6. That's a little bit, it's how Commander be sometimes, but I think it's okay that a deck doesn't need to, that a color doesn't have, this explosive mana ramp.
Right. If the argument like against white as a color is that it's not very explosive, and that's a very good argument, and I've seen that from like people like Kristen on the Keg,
mm-hmm.
and I would say it to myself, like that's a fair complaint. But if your complaint is that this one color, which it's color pie, like it's thematic, what it's supposed to do is be fair, and it holds to that, and it feels fair. Can you say that that's really like a flaw in the design of the cards?
Well, besides just being fair, I think one thing that white also has going for it is I think white is very consistent. So like, for example, if white, one of the things that white does is catch-up ramp, and if you're behind in a game and you have catch-up ramp, that's kind of like pulling you back up to parity, right? Let's maybe consistency isn't the best word for that, but like, they have like, land tax, one of our favorite white cards ever printed, is like the key of consistency, right? They have things that tutor. I think, correct me if I'm wrong here, Eli, but I think the white creatures that like tutor like a planes to your hand, I don't know if really the other colors, maybe green has them, but like they don't play them because whatever. But like they're just solid cards. There's a lot of cards that are consistent in white.
I mean, I think we're both kind of on the team. Like, I feel like you and I could remember every game we've played where like we play a white deck and we miss land drops,
bro,
because it's that few.
White, I think, is the best color if you want to build your deck to not miss land drops. White is a key color for that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But besides just talking about these overall like strengths and weaknesses and like stuff about white, I think we really just want to talk about some of these things in the context of some of the new cards that have been coming out, because God knows there's a ton of powerful cards that have been coming out for every color, white included though. So we some maybe even some cards, I think you and I would say, Eli, the white has the best cards in cycles, or at least near the best cards in cycles.
Yeah, and so it's no secret there's been many Magic sets this year. It feels like a really long year looking back at all this. But that means a lot of good new white cards and good cards for every color. But honestly, I feel like if you're going to say like that there's this one color that's so far beneath the others, when that color gets good cards, I feel like that means that much more, because I think we've talked about on older episodes how, at least in my opinion, when like a crazy new blue or green card comes out, it might be super strong, but it's rarely more powerful than like the best cards in that color.
Like, what are you going to do? Cut a Burgeoning from your deck to put in this other good ramp card? Like, no.
Yeah, whereas like something like Smothering Tithe comes out, and you can say there's really not a card that does anything comparable to that.
Or like, yeah, it's like in the top 5% of powerful white cards, so like it's going to find a spot in most of your white decks.
Right. So what do we say we get into the start of the year and start talking about going through each of the sets, and like we're going to highlight some of the heaters from every set as far as white cards. And so February 18th, start of the year, we had Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, and this was a pretty cool set. Had some pretty big ones, I think.
Yeah, I think this was kind of like a favorite set of a lot of people this year. One of the ones people really liked because it had a really cool like thematic element, but also a lot of new and unique designs, right?
Yeah, I think one of the most unique cards out of this was the Wandering Emperor, like a planeswalker with flash
that could use its ability like on the when you
play
it.
It kind of gives you like that extra like use of an ability, and I think that's a really cool card. Like, it's also interesting in that I'm a big fan of these kind of planeswalkers that like don't have an ultimate, they just do cool stuff, and like they're kind of tricky, and it's kind of good removal. Like, you probably get like you kill somebody's creature, and then like maybe you buff one of your creatures or make a 2/2 and it dies, and like that might not seem very great, but like if you play the Wandering Emperor, kill somebody's creature, and then people have to attack it to kill it, like
that's
valuable, good enough for me. Like, I'm pretty easy to please.
Especially another thing that's great about the Wandering Emperor is it's a card where you can a thing that I think white might have a problem with, or at least at one point it had a problem with, was in white decks you generally had to play yourself out to the board. So like one of the things you can do in white decks is you do like really good board wipes, but also you had to play things to like not die and like progress your game plan.
Right.
So with the Wandering Emperor, you can kind of either one, play a card that's not going to be killed by creature board wipes that you're maybe going to play yourself next turn, or two, just hold it up in case someone an opponent plays a board wipe, then you can like get you can play your flash creature, right, or flash planeswalker. So that's something I really like about it.
Yeah, I've got all sorts of like flash creatures and things with flash in my mono white deck. Yeah, and it's really a good thing to just be able to like pass, draw, go, like pass, hold up your mana.
Also, that +1 on the Wandering Emperor is actually really cool because it kind of you can have like a +1 that ends up being like kind of like a free kill spell if the math lines up correctly on blockers. Like, someone attacks you with a 4/4 into your 3/3, you +1 and you give your creature first strike and +1/+1, and you just eat their creature. Like, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So it's tricky. It can do a lot of things, and it's never going to be bad. I think that's what's good about it.
Yeah, and in Neon Dynasty, they also had this cycle of new dragons, legendary dragons, that when they die, you get to do something like the original ones. What was it? Kosei, the white one, and that stops somebody on tap. So this one AO, I think, is a little bit more proactive.
It does
less
things for you instead of hurting your opponents, which is nice.
Yeah, so it kind of has this ability when it dies. I think the main one is you look at the top 7 cards and you put any number of non-land permanent cards with total mana value 4 or less from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So you could get a lot of stuff off of that, actually. Like, if you're playing anything that like costs like 1 or 0, like you could get
you get like 3 things if you need, maybe.
It dies, like you get like on average like 1 to 3 cards maybe. Like, out of that.
Yeah, so it's pretty much paying back the mana you spent to cast it, -1, and it's like drawing 1 to 2 cards and paying back the mana and drawing 1 to 2 cards on like a death, and it's got a good body too. It's a 5 mana 5/4 with flying and vigilance. I mean,
yeah, I like being able to play like good solid creatures that even if somebody board wipes you, like you still kind of get something out of it. So that's really nice.
And it can kind of be considered like I know it comes late in like the game, like not super early, but like you could just hit like a 2 mana rock and like a 1 mana creature or something, or like a 2 mana creature. Like someone board wipes, you put in like a Mind Stone and like a Mother of Runes, and it's like, okay, yeah,
I don't hate it. Yeah. Speaking of 2 mana creatures, though, I think this is something that I think a lot of white players have wanted for a while. Because we've had Wall of Omens before, which personally I love.
Love me Wall of Omens.
But Green had their Elvish Visionary, and now we have Spirited Companion, which is a 2 mana 1/1 enchantment creature dog, just enters the battlefield, draws you a card. Yeah,
it's pretty much like a reprint of Elvish Visionary, but in white, a color shift, right? It's not really a color shift because, like, you know, white can do that sort of thing. But I just need to emphasize how, for a lot of white decks, how important that kind of effect is, not having Defender. And the reason for that is mostly because, like, Defender creatures are great, but they can't hold equipment. And a lot of good white decks, you know, there's a lot of white decks have like, you know, opportunities to play like Sword of the Animus, Sword of Feast and Famine, you know, sort of you know, other swords potentially. But
and you got your other best white card draw, Skull Clamp, right? So,
yeah, Skull
and this is an enchantment, so like you can there's stuff to do with that. Like we don't need to tell you like what to do with enchantments, but I wanted to draw attention to this card, and while we're talking about this card, I'm gonna kind of skip ahead to like future sets. If we have a card that like is something that has similar versions of this effect throughout the year, we're just going to talk about it like when we're in like the first version of that. So also this year we got Inspiring Overseer, which is a 3-mana angel with that's a 2/1 flyer. ETB, you gain a life and draw a card.
So it's a little bit of a play on that card. Like it has flying, so maybe it holds equipment better, but also it's 3 mana. So, but it's good.
I think that might be my favorite one out of these. And these are all commons, by the way. These three. The other one is from Baldur's Gate, Commander Legends 2. Roving Harper, just 3 mana 2/2, like ETB draw card. And I think why I wanted to mention like the multiple versions of these cards is first of all, they're all commons, so they're very affordable and cheap. And it gives you, I think one of the other complaints about white and Commanders, like your good cards, like there's one version of that effect.
Yeah.
But here we go. This year alone, there were 3 more of these. So now you can play a bunch of these ETB draw card creatures and then add that in with your pre-existing like kind of recursion and blink packages in mono white and get more consistent card draw.
Like, yeah, you probably could have, I mean, I'm not sure entirely how many of them, but if you're going to go for just 2 and 3 mana effects like these, I think you probably have like around 6 of them now. And I can't imagine wanting any more than that, right? Like that's on the high side of what you would want.
Yeah, and that's amazing though, like consistency and at a low price point. So
yeah, and one of the best white cards in my opinion is the blink spell with rebound.
Ephemerate.
Yeah, because that card is pretty much just like a 2/3 for 1, and you can combine it with cards that will do much more than just draw a card later in the game. But early in the game, playing an Ephemerate on a you know, draw a card.
It's so good, to be honest. Yeah,
it's almost Ancestral Recall. It's 1 mana draw 2 as opposed to 1 mana draw 3, right? Like it's getting there.
I love that card. And there was another cycle in Kamigawa. There were the channel lands, most of which were pretty overshadowed by the green one, Boseiju. New Boseiju, very very good. Obviously, like I think there was a lot of talk about that one and being like
every deck
maybe too good. It's very good, very expensive too.
It's like $40 or $50 or something.
You know what's a little bit cheaper, and I can't say it's like
affordable,
nothing, but Eiganjo, Seed of the Empire.
I think Eiganjo is so. We don't need to talk about how much I'm a hater of the green card. I'm not saying it's bad. It's probably the best one. But the green one's probably the best one, but I don't like it as much as most people. But I think Eiganjo might be the second best one, whereas most people would rate it as like the worst. I think it might be the second best, or at least maybe third or something. But it's middle of the pack at least, I think.
Yeah, I used this in a game to deal 4 damage to an attacking Idris before it could give everything Cascade, and I just think there's a lot of stuff that kills. And sure, it is unfortunate. It has to be an attacking or blocking creature, but
it comes up.
It's nice to just have like a free slot in your deck to like kind of have a way to interact with something, which is big.
It's a land that enters untapped and taps for white. Like how the other side doesn't have to. It can be you know, rare when it comes up. It's gonna be good.
Yeah, I always love those like kind of, you know, what's strictly better like than a plains like kind of lands, and you know you can make the argument like non-basic land, right? But
yeah, legendary, whatever.
It's a very easy thing to make a cut for in your deck, right? So that's always nice to see.
And alternatively, I always have to mention this when we talk about lands and white. White is, I think, now you could argue that green may be so, but I think white is one of the better colors at tutoring specific lands because they've got the 1-drop. What's it called?
Weathered Wayfarer.
Weathered Wayfarer is amazing and can tutor you any land in your deck every turn as long as you're not like going first in the turn order.
Yeah.
So that
nice.
Being able to grab a removal spell if you need to is kind of great.
All right.
We got one more card from
last but not least from Neon Dynasty, and we're gonna say
it's a big one.
Farewell to this set, but we're gonna talk about Farewell. Yeah, choose one or more 6 mana sorcery, exile all artifacts, exile all creatures, exile all enchantments, exile all graveyards. So it's just like the board wipe to stop all board wipes.
Exactly. You remember back in the day, Eli, like the reason for playing Orzhov was so you could play the Orzhov board wipe.
Merciless Eviction.
Merciless Eviction. Like back in the day, like I'm thinking like 2017, 2016, that was like the shit. It's like, oh my god, that's like every deck that can play that, right? And this is like Merciless Eviction like plus and in one color. Like this is I can't emphasize enough how much better this is than Merciless Eviction. You can play a game as long as you can get to your 6 mana and it doesn't get countered, right? Like you can set a game back to 0 with this card. And don't let me talk over you, Eli, but the fact that you can choose not to do some of them, like you could, if you have like a bunch of mana rocks and no one else has that mana, you could just keep all the mana rocks around, right? Like, or your graveyards if you need to, or whatever.
Yeah, this it gets what you need to get, and it keeps it gone. I think there's very little, like you said, like sure somebody can counter something that goes for any
card, right? Yeah.
Somebody could Teferi's Protection away from this, or like Eerie Enter, like blink their board out. But aside from that, like you could be staring down a board of indestructible creatures with hexproof and like
10 mana rocks,
or somebody with like their like super recursive deck. Like it doesn't matter. Like
it's like someone has, like you were saying, like let's say someone has like some sort of thing where like even if you board wipe them, they're gonna reanimate their stuff and build the whole board back up again instantly. Gone, out of there. Exile the graveyard too. Yeah,
it's
great.
Just probably one of the top tier board wipes now.
It's got to be in my top 3 board wipes of the format. I think maybe off the top of my head. But yeah, let's move on. Our next set here, releasing, what is this, April 29th?
Yeah, late April. Yeah. Streets of New Capenna, which was a set that I was kind of not super excited about because I didn't really think the theme would be that great, but it turns out it was actually maybe one of my favorite sets of the year. It was pretty cool. It had some nice, very proactive white cards in it.
So Eli, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not entirely sure, but was this the first set where they started printing like this commander only like set, like they had like the commander decks, like, and like they had like a bunch of commander cards, or do they have?
So this was it's just every set now they have commander decks.
Yeah,
and Streets of New Capenna was the official we get our yearly commander set.
Okay.
This was the set that was tied into the yearly commander set, like how we had Ikoria Commander.
Okay, that makes sense.
So this one had the
big decks, like all of them.
5 decks. Yeah.
Okay. Because I felt like I remember there being a lot of commander decks here.
Yeah. So and that's something else I should mention here. Like when we're talking about these sets throughout the year, we're also including cards from their tie-in commander decks.
Yeah, and the cards that come in like the draft or the set boosters that have like specific.
Oh yeah, because that's another thing now too. Yeah. So just if we talk about a card and you're like, that wasn't in that set, it's like, well, it was kind of in that set.
Yeah, it wasn't in the commander deck, but it was in the...
It was adjacent. It was associated with that set.
Yeah.
But the first one I want to talk about is a card that's very similar to... what is that blue card that you like so much?
Which one?
The one that you bought like 50 of.
Oh,
the 2-drop.
Oh god, Ghostly Pilferer.
Ghostly Pilferer.
Yeah, it does the same.
So this is more mana, but it also is sort of removal. It's Aerial Extortionist. It's this 5 mana bird soldier with flying. It's 4/3. When it enters the battlefield or deals combat damage to a player, you exile up to 1 target non-land permanent. For as long as that card remains exiled, its owner may cast it. And whenever another player casts a spell from anywhere other than their hand, draw a card. So that doesn't just count the thing that you're exiling, it counts people's commanders being cast and things being cast from like Foretell or Impulse Draw.
Yeah. I like that this does a lot of things, and it does all of them pretty well. I mean, the downside, right, is that it's 5 mana, right? But the thing that's really important for like a 5 mana plus card, not 5 mana in particular, but an expensive card, is that it does something now. And this card does something now. It's immediate, like remove a threat temporarily because they have to cast it again.
It's effectively like bouncing it, right?
Yeah, it's like a bounce effect.
Yeah.
But also when they play it again, you get to draw the card if this is still in play. But like, let's say you play this, give it haste, you get to do 2 in a turn because it's when it attacks as well, or no, when it hits somebody.
Yeah.
And just that, like, even if like it can't attack or something, like sitting on the board and maybe drawing 2 cards, like I'm not going to complain about that.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to play with this card yet. I did get one for my Feather Blink deck to put in there, and I imagine it'd be really good. I don't play that deck that often because the end game of playing a bunch of cards like this that come in and kill stuff is that your opponents don't have non-land permanents, and that's not always
a fun
very
experience.
fun for people. So,
but the thing that I like about this card a lot is that it does the two things that I think are most important in Commander, and that is draw cards and some sort of like removal effect, right? And like you were saying, Eli, it's not permanent removal; it's like a bounce, but like the tempo and it fills multiple shoes pretty well for both of them.
Yeah,
it's great.
All right,
another card that fills multiple shoes pretty well, right?
Yeah.
Is Master of Ceremonies. Why don't you talk about this card, Eli?
Yeah, so this is one I really like a lot. It's this 4-mana 3/4 Rhino Druid. It's kind of wordy. I'm gonna summarize it. So on your upkeep, everyone your opponents get to choose either draw a card, make a treasure, or make a 1/1, and whatever they pick, you also do that. So if each of your 3 opponents, like they're all like, I want to draw a card, you draw 3 cards on your upkeep.
Yeah, so I mean, the permutations of this, there's a lot of them, but usually what it ends up being is you usually at least get a card or a treasure or something like that, and I think it's just inoffensive enough that like your opponents don't feel like they have to kill it. Like it's not like it's broken or something, right? So like it's not like I'm going to lose the game if it's in play, but the value you get out of it is actually pretty good. Like just having an extra treasure or 2 every couple turns, every turn or so, like is a big deal. Refilling your hand, people take cards a lot.
People love to see that. Like I feel like people are almost never going to kill that. The worst thing that kind of happens, like if you are winning that game and you have a Master of Ceremonies, they just start picking 1/1s, and then you're just like, oh, I have a 4-mana 3/4 that gives me 3 1/1s every turn.
Yeah, and then your opponents get some, but
So it's always pretty good, and most of the time I've just seen it draw me 3 cards on my upkeep, or like get 2 cards and a treasure.
Yeah,
which is really, really nice.
Mm-hmm. And also, like, the thing about this card that's really cool is, like, usually you don't want to be giving your opponents things, right? Like, obviously, but when you give them things at this rate, where it's like 1 to you, 1 to you, 1 to you, 3 to me, like that just kind of like gets me over the hump of not wanting to give my opponents things. It's just so much better.
Well, it reminds me of the exchange on like Tempt with Discovery, right?
Yeah.
Like you're still the most advantaged by that.
Your opponents each get a land, you get 3, right? Like, yeah, like it's like that where your opponent, like that's usually so good that your opponents are just better off not taking it, but they don't have the choice for this card.
Like if each of my opponents picked a treasure, like that just like shot me way ahead in mana.
You pretty much have like a Smothering Tithe for the turn.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a good one.
I feel like this, Master of Ceremonies wasn't talked about that much because it was kind of overshadowed by the other kind of white ramp and card draw card of this commander set, and that would be Smuggler's Share. It's a 3-mana white enchantment, which... Have you seen this card played since it came out?
I saw it a little bit immediately after it came out, but since then, no.
Yeah, I feel like it's just kind of prohibitively expensive. I think it's like cheaper than it used to be, but when it came out, it was like previewed at like $20 plus dollars.
Yeah, it was like 15 or 20 when it came out. Now I think it's sitting around 7 or 8.
Yeah,
which is still more than I want to spend on it, so I don't have one.
Yeah, so it says at the beginning of each end step, draw a card for each opponent who drew 2 or more cards this turn, then create a treasure token for each opponent who had 2 or more lands enter the battlefield under their control this turn. Which I feel like those are pretty good odds that you're going to get at least something. One of those, right?
Like in a turn cycle, like, I mean, what do you expect maybe like on average you might get in an average turn cycle?
I'd say maybe like a card and like a card or 2 and like a treasure or 2, like on average, like
so maybe
some combination of like
so maybe
total of 4 things,
maybe on average, like maybe you get like 3 or 4 things or something, right? And that's not bad. Like it's not. I'm not complaining about Smuggler's Share, but I think it was overhyped.
Yeah, I think it is unfortunate that some like in stronger levels of play, like it's gonna do a lot of things, but it's very inconsistent. I think. And also you have this like problem that maybe I'm just crazy. Maybe this is just how I see the world, because we all tend to like see everything as like out to get us. But when I see people playing Commander, how I feel like as somebody playing white cards, you go to play like your Mangara or something like this, like a white card draw card.
And they try to avoid it.
And everyone's like, oh, I got to play around that. And then you sit next to the person playing Rhystic Study and everyone's like, draw your cards. There's nothing I can do about that.
I'm not going to pay 1.
Yeah, I'm not going to pay 1 mana. Mangara, I better not play 2 spells this turn.
They play Smuggler's Share. Like, I gotta, even though I could play a sorcery, I better not crack my fetch line to play it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, but...
Ooh, I'll hold off on my card draw for this turn.
Yeah, I don't want to play my ramp spell.
And that's just me being very spiteful and like feeling very like paranoid. But
one thing that I thought about when this card came out was one thing I don't like about this card is I think it gets better like later in the game because people are much more likely to draw cards as the amount of mana they have is increasing, right? I guess it ramps early game. Maybe people will be playing like a Farseek or something, or like a Cultivate, whatever. But I just think about this as like it's a 3-mana enchantment that might not let me hit my land drop.
Yeah.
Whereas when I think of like Phyrexian Arena, I think I would rather have a Phyrexian Arena in play on turn 3 than this in play.
One thing I think is worth noting with this card, though, that we've seen a few like symmetrical card draw effects out of white in the last few years, so you could kind of
you can
use this like because it triggers on your end step too, so you could like use a
Secret Rendezvous.
Yeah, Secret Rendezvous on somebody to get an extra card, or you could like use a Path to Exile on somebody.
Give them an extra land.
The treasure.
I don't hate that. That seems okay.
So it's kind of like nice that it has that cross synergy with like other white cards.
It's a good white card. I would just I have a hard time recommending it because it's so expensive.
Yeah, it's too expensive.
I mean, $8 is not that crazy, but like more than I think it's worth.
Yeah, you know what I think is better though, and way less expensive. I think I picked up like 2 of these just because it was so dirt cheap after the set came out. Is a Sanctuary Warden. It's a 6-mana angel 5/5 flyer. It enters with 2 shield counters on it, which was the kind of one of the set mechanics of New Capenna.
Which honestly, I think the shield counters mechanic is actually like really good. It not a lot of things have it, but like there's that commander that comes in with a shield counter, and it's like that guy just fucking doesn't die. Yeah, but go ahead though. Sorry.
Yeah, it's nice, especially on a 6-drop, right? Because like you worry about that dying to a board wipe or just getting like killed right away, and you can kind of protect it because it comes in with 2 shield counters.
Yeah, it's pretty much exile or bounce or bust. Yeah.
And then the idea with that being, when it enters the battlefield or attacks, you may remove a counter from a creature or planeswalker you control. If you do, you draw a card and create a 1/1 white and green citizen token.
Both! You get both!
Yeah, so it comes in, and you remove one of its shield counters and draw a card. So you can, like, blink this and keep resetting those, or just play it in a deck where you have counters to steal from other things.
This is maybe the only deck I could think of where you'd ever want to play a Vivid Land.
Yeah, oh my god.
Oh my god.
They've finally been used. You know what makes me so fucking mad, Spencer?
What's up?
When Wizards puts a Vivid Land in like a 2-color
precon?
like a 2-color one too, because it's like, dude, they're strictly worse than Guild Gates.
Yeah.
It's like, why? It's like, oh, it's synergy with the Proliferate cards.
Not
no,
anymore.
No, it's not. It's like playing that stupid 3-mana zombie that can attack if you have a vampire. It's like, oh, it's synergy. It's like, no, it's not. It's just not. It's just playable.
Yeah, when you have a vampire, it works.
Yeah, it just does something.
But now that you have Sanctuary Warden, it's not done.
Yeah, so that's another card I haven't gotten to play with that often, but I seems solid to me. Like, I can't imagine that ever being that bad. Like,
there's nothing I want more. One of my favorite cards. I'm speaking in hyperbole. Not actually one of my favorite cards, but a card I like. Phyrexian Gargantua, 6-mana 4 black card, 6-mana 4/6 enters the battlefield. Like draw 2 cards, maybe lose 2 life. I don't remember.
Yeah, lose 2 life, draw 2 cards. Yeah.
I mean, this just coming into play and removing one of its own shield counters and drawing a card and gaining a life. Fuck it, I'll take that.
Yeah, this was another one I put in my Feather Blink deck to just try it out as another like blink it, draw cards, and also just make a bunch of bodies to trigger your Perforos or whatever.
And there's probably some other cards in this set that we could talk about, but we gotta move on to the next set.
Yeah, the next one's the biggest one, because it turns out the Commander set had a lot of cards for Commander.
What?
Crazy. But yeah, Battle for Baldur's Gate.
So it's out in June. What card do you want to talk about first, Eli? We should start with the dragon, right?
Yeah, this is another one. Kind of a spendy cycle money-wise, so I wish I had this card. Maybe I'll have to look and see if they've gotten much cheaper. I know the red one's going to set you back like $50.
Set you back a AAA new game, you know?
I think this white one here, the Ancient Gold Dragon, is relatively cheaper, still maybe kind of high.
You can get the cheapest one for maybe around $10.
But they had a cycle of Elder Dragons, and here on EDHTakes, we love some Elder Dragons.
Of course.
And this is a 7-mana 7/10.
Yeah,
it's fucking huge.
My buddy Thomas played one in a game I was in recently, and I and I had to point out to him the fact that it was a 7/10, and he's like, "What the fuck? That's huge!
It's insane!" Like, I mean, I think in the cycle, even like that's bigger than the green one.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think it might be like an 8/8 or a 6/6 or something.
Yeah.
7/7 maybe. 7/7's probably right.
But yeah, it's got flying, as dragons do, and when it deals, they all kind of do this thing. When they deal combat damage to somebody, you roll a d20. And this one says you create a number of 1/1 blue fairy dragon creature tokens with flying equal to the result. So that's on average, like, what, around 10 and a half, like,
yeah. 1/1
10,
flyers,
11.
right? Like, it's fine.
That's a lot. Yeah. That's a lot of flyers.
Now, I think a lot of people try to compare this to the other ones because, like, I could be making 20 treasures or I could be drawing 20 guards. But, like, honestly, you're going to win a game if you start making fucking 20 1/1 flyers.
Yeah, and I know it's 7 mana, and people always say nowadays, like, oh, Commander's getting faster, like the games are ending more quickly, and you don't have time to play 6 and 7 drops. Well, I'd say, no, that's not exactly how that works out. Just because the game ends on around turn 6
doesn't mean you don't play
It's not because you don't have time to play those, it's because people are playing those kind of cards on, like, turn 4 and 5.
You play a Jessica's Will and you play your ancient gold dragon or copper dragon or something, yeah.
Yeah, it's just the mana acceleration has gotten better. So, like, when you're playing expensive cards, you just have to make sure they're impactful. And I'd say ancient gold dragon, like, sure, you have to hit somebody, but if you do,
yeah,
you're probably...
Like, if we look at it in comparison to the copper dragon, like, it's obviously underwhelming, right? But we don't need to compare that. We don't need to compare those two cards to appreciate ancient gold dragon.
Comparison is the thief of joy, and I'd much rather have the extra $40 left over from buying this one rather than the red one.
And while I did kill my friend Thomas's ancient gold dragon before he could attack with it, it's definitely a card that I think your opponents may let you attack with, unlike Ancient Copper Dragon, which they will not let you attack with if they have the opportunity.
Right.
So that's maybe
which is funny saying that because he actually did trigger the other dragon in those games.
But that was just because we couldn't kill it.
We were just like, you just get 50 mana, Thomas. It's fine.
Not by choice. Okay, well, what do you got next, Eli? What's another one?
Oh, we got a real heater. This was a big deal. This one was kind of expensive, but not crazy. So just I think like close to $10. But Archivist of Ogma, 2 mana, 2/2, Halfling Cleric, Flash. Whenever an opponent searches their library, you gain 1 life and draw a card.
That's, oh my god, I love it. Like, I haven't personally picked up a copy yet because I'm a dirty poser. But Archivist of Ogma is, I mean, it's one of the cards that people have been waiting for a long time. Just like this cheap, like kind of tax effect that just draws cards, like when an opponent does thing.
Yeah,
and I like that.
That's a good rate for like drawing like 1 or 2 cards.
And it has Flash. That's so great. That's so key to it, I think.
Yeah, you see like when a lot of like good green cards or like other colored cards come out, people are always like, why did it have to do that? It's like, why did Archivist of Ogma also have to gain you life? Like, they didn't have to do that.
They didn't have to do that.
But like, this is a pretty push card.
Yeah, it triggers your life gain effects if you play them. One thing about Archivist of Ogma that it does is that, if this didn't have Flash, it would be great, right? Like, it'd be like a tax effect. People would fucking avoid searching the library like the plague if they could, right? But with Flash, you can at least get that one trigger to replace itself because you just do it in response to like a Cultivate.
Yeah, and this is another card I like that, like, I play this in my Tajik Hate Bears deck, and I think I had a game where I had this or another card we're going to talk about later on this list, where I played like Winds of Abandon. Like, sure, you don't get a card for every land they search out, but you get a land for every opponent that you've hit with that.
Yeah.
So Winds of Abandon your opponents and gain 3 life, draw 3 cards.
I like it, yeah.
Yeah, or Path to Exile somebody's creature and draw a card unless they specifically decide to not get the land. But like, that's crazy person behavior. If somebody does that in the same game that they're not paying for a Heuristic Study, I will literally kill that person. We shouldn't say that.
In the game of Commander.
I will kill them in that game. Like,
yeah. But for real, like, if my opponent's going to not play their ramp spell because I have an Archivist of Ogma in play, good. I'm glad about that. That's great.
Yeah, maybe while we're talking about that sort of thing, we should just go into the other card that's kind of like this Deep Gnome Terramancer. It's another 2-drop, this time a Gnome Wizard with Flash.
This guy has both of his arms.
Yeah. And he just says, whenever 1 or more lands enter the battlefield under an opponent's control without being played, you may search your library for a Plains card. Any Plains card.
Any Plains.
Be a Plateau, Sacred Foundry.
And
you put that card onto the battlefield tap, then shuffle. But you only do this once each turn. But the thing is, noteworthy about this card, this is not really a form of catch-up ramp.
No,
this is punishing your opponents for them doing too much ramping with lands.
Or even just playing a fetch land, right? And like I said about the other card, this has flash as well, so you can get that one. Like if this gets you one land, it's like a better Farseek. That's crazy. Like a so much better Farseek, and then it's like taxing everyone.
So again, both of these cards are like maybe like on the line of being a bit too expensive, like money wise, but like still, I'd recommend picking them up if you can. Hopefully they catch a reprint in something. I
really do think Gnome Terramancer is like crazy good.
Those are just really powerful cards, and like that's I think we can appreciate like Baldur's Gate didn't have like any like insanely overpowered cards for Commander, but like those are two really strong white cards.
And like you were saying earlier with Path to Exile, this like the other one draws you a card when you Path to Exile their creature on their turn. This one gets you it ramping growths you, and I think that's crazy good.
I just want to live that dream with both of those out, and then like the Winds of Abandon,
and
be like, oh, I also like get a bunch of stuff when you guys do
get a bunch of cards, get a ramping growth, everything like that. Yeah,
great.
What do you want to talk about now? What's next, logically speaking?
Well, we're talking about little creatures. A card that I think many people have wanted for a long time is like a really like splashy late game recursion spell for mono white, and we got Ascend from Avernus, which is a card that I haven't even picked up yet, despite having like many decks I feel like this should go in.
Yeah,
cause white X, and it's a sorcery. Return all creatures and planeswalker cards with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, and then exile Ascent from Avernus.
This is actually like crazy how good this is compared to some of the old effects we had. There's like a Orzhov hybrid card, which is like it's got like a fucking spooky skeleton on it.
Debtor's Knell?
No. It's X. It's like 2X. Like return all of your.
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah.
It's like return all of your.
It's just
X, that number. And this is I think that one's 2 and X. Maybe it's 3 and X actually. Mm-hmm. But whatever. The point is the fact that this can return like 20 creatures. That's a bit much maybe. But it can return like a bunch of 1, 2, and 3 drops for like 6 mana. Like that is. It's actually like if you try to find the effects that do things like that like this is like leagues better than the old ones.
Yeah, our friend Lane has a Hoffrey Ghostforge Boros deck, and I saw him do this once and got back like he just did it for like 5 mana and got back like 4 2-drops after sacrificing them like twice for value with Hoffrey, and then did it all over again. I was like, it's pretty backbreaking.
Discounting, like, if you're trying to, like, put, like, huge, like, 7 drops in your graveyard, this card can kind of just be, like 7 mana, 8 mana, something like that, reanimate your entire graveyard, right? Including Planeswalkers, too, if you have those. But, like, 8 mana, reanimate your entire graveyard, I think is a good rate for that, personally.
Yeah, this is a very, very strong card, and, like, surprising that there's been so many good cards this year. I haven't even seen this one yet that often.
Really like it.
So another really like sneaky good card that I think like I've seen more people playing and is a bit more like apparent how good it is. Battle Angels of Tyr. Maybe one thing worth mentioning before talking about this is this set had the return of the Myriad mechanic, which I always thought was a really great mechanic for Commander because it literally like doesn't have any kind of impact on any other form of Magic, really. Like it's just a multiplayer scaling thing.
You're not going to break the other formats with Myriad,
Yeah, which is something I think is really like cool. Like a cool way to push Commander cards is just make them scale better with multiplayer and not like just make them baseline stronger.
Yeah, you don't want to have all the Commander cards being legacy staples, right?
Yeah, but this seems pretty unassuming. I mean, it's a 4 mana, 4/4 flying. I mean, but with Myriad, that effectively makes it,
12 damage the table, right? So even without the ability, which we can explain it in a moment, which can get you lands and draw cards, whatever, do things like that. Treasure tokens, not lands, sorry. But just as a 4 mana creature that literally swings at 12 at the table every turn, like that's a big game, evasively too.
Yeah, like what other creatures do we have in white that like output that much raw damage just from the one creature, like aside from like Serra Ascendant?
Yeah, you have the 5 mana Myriad Angel, which sucks.
Yeah.
But really, just without the other abilities, like if you're like an aggressive deck and maybe you can buff it up, I guess it doesn't really help that much because the Myriad just makes tokens, but like
if you have like an Anthem or
Anthem, there you go, that'll help. it's gonna do a lot. And it also, notably, we haven't talked about a lot of them yet, but there's some cards that trigger when you have creatures entering or have multiple creatures entering. A lot of white has, like, Cathar's Crusade, or some other, couple cards we'll talk about later. When you have like 2 creatures enter, you draw a card. Mm-hmm. This will give you those ETB effects for those sort of things.
Oh, I think we skipped over that card.
You want to go back?
The Rumor Gatherer. Yeah, if we just want to. It's a card from New Capenna. Just says whenever a creature enters the battlefield, you scry 1. But if this is the second time that ability happened in a turn, you draw a card. It's a 3-mana 2/1 uncommon creature.
Yeah, so if you play
nice.
This triggers it every turn because of your Myriad without doing anything. That's great. But yeah, I've been procrastinating long enough. You're like, why don't you tell them what the other part
Battle
does?
Angels actually like does other things. Like, honestly, I feel like that was good enough.
Yeah, that's good enough.
When it deals combat damage to a player, which this is gonna happen
3 times
in a turn, unless they block, I guess. But draw a card if that player has more cards in hand than each other player. Then you create a treasure token if that player controls more lands than each other player. Then you gain 3 life if that player has more life than each other player.
Yeah, so if anybody has more cards than you, or anybody has more more lands than you, or whatever, you're just gonna get that extra effect off them.
And if you don't get any of those triggers, that means life is good.
It means you're ahead or on par with everyone else. So yeah, that's good.
Well, maybe while we're talking about Myriad, we should just talk about a card that we rep the Boros Legion here on the podcast, and they made a card for us, Legion Loyalty.
I love the art on this card.
8 mana, clean line of text. Creatures you control have Myriad.
Dude, whenever they make a card that has, like, this has 5 words in it, like, in the text box, that is so beautiful, honestly.
Yeah, I have the extended borderless
version
it
looks
of this,
so good.
And it doesn't have the reminder text on it. It's just so freaking clean.
Yeah, and it's not often that you can have a card that's like 8 mana, has 5 lines of text, 5 words of text on it, and is actually like powerful, right? Like, you gotta have some pretty specific words.
And people, I think when this came out, people would see this card and be like, "Oh, it's 8 mana, and you need to have a board state. Like, it's whatever. Like, it's not that good. Like, 8 mana should win you the game." It's like, you know what? You people don't have any fun. And while I might not enjoy like a card like True Conviction that much because it's 6 mana and it requires creatures, this at least when you have one good creature with an enter the battlefield ability, this produces value.
And if you have a big board might happen. I know it's you're not allowed to have a board in Commander these days, you know what I'm saying? But this card actually does win the game sometimes. Sometimes you literally just if you have the resources in creatures attacking to kill one person, this essentially gives you that for everybody.
Yeah, while also providing you extra resources. So
yeah,
it's
imagine getting an extra Sun Titan, an extra Solemn, stuff like that. We take that.
Yeah, and it is the Christmas special, so you gotta give a little Christmas land to Legion Loyalty, but I think it's just a very fun card.
Just put this in your deck, not expecting it to always be great, but looking to live the dream.
Yeah, if it does something, you'd be happy with that.
Yeah. Well, what about a couple other unassuming small cards we got? Scouting Hawk. This is an interesting one. When Scouting Hawk, it's just a 3-mana 1/1 flying. When it enters the battlefield and if an opponent controls more lands than you get to put basic planes from your deck into play tapped. So just another catch-up ramp card. People will say that these catch-up ramp cards are not good in multiples, right? But the more you have, the more you have access to getting, right? You want 1 or maybe 2, but if you have more, you can...
I wanted us to talk about this one because it's a common from Baldur's Gate. Whereas
so nice.
You got Knight of the White Orchid. I don't feel like many of the other catch-up ramp cards are really that expensive, but just seeing this at common, I think is super nice because like we said, you want more redundancy of these things, and it's really getting there. It's very there's plenty of options now. Especially on a budget, I think.
Yeah, and we love ourselves a skull clampable card. We love that.
Another kind of lower rarity card. We got an uncommon here. Cut a Deal, 3-mana sorcery. Each opponent draws a card. Then you draw a card for each opponent who drew a card this way. So 3 mana, draw 3, give your opponents each a card. Obviously this card gets a lot worse when you start knocking people out, but 3 mana, draw 3.
Yeah, we mentioned Secret Rendezvous and how we don't absolutely hate that card, but this card feels like kind of an improvement on that effect, right? Because while it is nice to give one person who's behind 3 cards, I think when you split it up it's just a lot less threatening to you. Giving everyone 1 and then you 3, I think, is a pretty good rate.
Yeah, and again, it creates that like nice redundancy for like those kind of just like raw, like, I mean, before something like Secret Rendezvous, like, and this card, there weren't that many just like sorceries, right, in white that just say like draw cards.
3, yeah.
And that's what people, I feel like, always wanted. They're just like, why can't we have white harmonize? And it's like, well, that's fucking boring, right? Like,
yeah.
But you know what? For you guys, you got cut a deal, and I don't hate that. You know, boring. It's like an eat your vegetables thing, right? Like, it's not very exciting, but it lets you play the game, and you don't have to think about it that much.
Ways to hit your land drops is always great, right?
Yeah. So if it helps people out, I think it's a good thing.
And I don't want to mention this every time we mention one of these cards that is like each opponent draws a card too, right? Like, but like you said, Eli, they're really good with the effects that trigger when your opponents draw cards or draw multiple cards or stuff like that, right?
Yeah, or like with your Smothering Tide, too. If you're going to say, like, that goes in every white deck, then, like, why do you hate symmetrical card draw if it gives you treasures back? Like, I don't know, it makes your spell kind of free if people don't pay for it.
Bro, I love when you play a Smothering Tide, then you play, like, a Secret Rendezvous or a Cut a Deal, and it's kind of, it's either, like, mana neutral or mana advantage. It's like a ritual that draws you cards.
That seems pretty good, right? Like,
yeah. Another one that does something similar is... Love Song of Night and Day.
I think we're done up with Commander Legends, so moving on to Dominaria United, which is kind of a forgotten set at this point because it got kind of squished there next to some stuff at the end of the year.
We got a couple cards in this from this set, and like I was saying, Love Song of Night and Day is really cool because it's that same kind of effect we were talking about before. It's a saga that has read ahead, which means you can start the saga at any of the 3 chapters, and then you'll just, you won't get them all if you start later. But I don't think you'll be reading ahead with this very often. Most of the time you want to... So yeah, the first one is you and target opponent each draw 2 cards. So, not... It's like a divination or whatever for you and your opponent. Not the best, but with the other effects I was saying earlier, it could be good. And then the second one is you get a white bird with flying. The third one is you get a counter on up to each of 2 target creatures. So it's an uncommon, notably. So... It's not like it's crazy good, but like it's one of those cards that like you can get your card advantage, you can get your token, whatever, you doing things.
Yeah, and it's on an enchantment too, so like it's I feel like that's better than it being on a sorcery for mono white at least. Like you get that back with Sun Titan, you have like Enchantress synergy and stuff. Like there's more stuff to do with that, and then it gives you like that bird, so you can like block or like hold equipment or skull clamp it, and then the counters are just gravy on that. Like it could honestly not have that, and I think it'd be fine.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it might be better without it, because then it would die faster, and you could reanimate, whatever.
Yeah.
That's maybe not quite the case, but... you want to talk about the cycle here, the Defiler cycle?
Yeah, we had a cycle of Defiler creatures, which effectively lets you spend Phyrexian mana for colored permanents of whatever color the Defiler is. And... people talked a lot about this cycle and were upset because they were like, oh, the green one's super OP and the rest of them aren't that great.
Yeah.
Like they were like, oh, the blue one, green one, they're fine. The rest are terrible, awful. And I'm like, because of they all have like this triggered ability on them when you cast permanent spells, they do a thing.
Yeah, of that color specifically.
Yeah, and that's kind of like what sets them apart from each other, aside from their mana costs are a little bit different. Like 3 of them are 5 mana, 2 of them are 4.
Yeah.
But people were really down on the non-green ones because they're like, oh, the triggers aren't that great. Because the white one, Defiler of Faith, it says whenever you cast a white permanent spell, you create a 1/1 token.
Yeah.
And like that doesn't seem that impressive, but I just think, you make a lot of tokens out, and especially it being in white, I think you have the best 1-drops in white, right?
Yeah, that's one thing that I think is so good. Like white, if white does anything well, they have... I mean, outside of Mana Dorks, like the best 1-drops in the whole format. Like so many, like I could play 15 white 1-drops in white, and I wouldn't even like blink. I wouldn't even be looking for like bad ones. Like they're all good.
Those are the best permanents to be casting off of the Defilers because that mana discount becomes a 100% mana discount.
Yeah, and one thing that's really cool about this one is you've got your white 1-drop creatures that when it says when a creature enters the battlefield, you draw a card, the Soul Sister effects. And with this, those you pay your 2 life for your white 1-drops.
Oh yeah, when your creatures enter, you gain life.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the creature enters and the token enters, so you buy back all of the life from that. So you pretty much pay 0 life to play a creature, especially if you have like I mean, you could go infinite if you have like some sort of stupid, like not just white, but like ways to like bounce your creatures back to your hand. But one thing that I think, is a bit weird about this card, people were comparing it to the green one because they all have like a keyword on them, like flying. The blue has flying, the green one has trample. This one has vigilance, and I honestly think that I'd rather have vigilance on my 5-mana 5/5 instead of trample on my 5-mana 5/5 or whatever the green one is. Personally, I'd rather have vigilance. I know that might not be everyone's taste, but that's my taste.
Yeah, and I just appreciate too that like this one, like sure the green one like gets huge and it makes your board huge, but like this one actually like creates a resource, like because you could say counters are a resource, but like I feel like a 1/1 is worth more than a +1/+1 counter.
So one thing that I want to say is imagine a situation where you play the Defiler and then you immediately like play a 1-drop for free and get the trigger, right? And then you pass your turn, someone kills the Defiler. With the green one, you might have gotten a +1/+1 counter on your older creatures, or you might just not have any and you get nothing, right? You pretty much got nothing out of that. With the white one, at least you got a token that sticks around. So I'm just saying, like, I think the white one is better on an empty board versus the green one, like if it gets removed immediately. That's a pretty specific situation, but I'm just trying to say there are situations where this will be better than the green one. Maybe not all the time, but...
we mentioned earlier the thing about white decks not having that ability to like feel explosive. If you play Defiler and then are able to just like empty out your hand of like all like your creatures like for free, like or like very cheap, like getting that cost reduction, because cost reduction, like in my opinion, is one of the more like broken or strong versions of like mana ramp. So that's just that allows you to do like a lot of like proactive things as long as you're able to like keep refilling your hand, which people would say like, oh, you're playing white, you're not going to be able to do that. It's like, shut up. Like, that's
well,
that's your problem.
You know how the green one gives you a counter on all your creatures, right? Well, if you have Cathar's Crusade in this one, it puts 2 counters on all your creatures and it makes the tokens.
Let's go.
So that's a good combo with that card.
Well, yeah, very cool card. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
And then the last one, maybe the best card from this set, Serra Paragon. It's 4-mana 3/4 Angel, flying. Once during each of your turns, you may play a land card from your graveyard or cast a permanent spell with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard. But if you do, it gains when this permanent is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, exile it, and you gain 2 life, just to stop you from like looping things like too much.
Yeah.
But, this is a Crucible of Worlds on a creature.
And Crucible of Worlds plot, or if you'd rather, you regrowth or something essentially, right? Like impulsive regrowth, right?
Yeah, and sure, like you can't loop a fetch land every turn with it, right? Yeah. But like even just the once, like
that's great.
That's fine, and then you can also just play your creatures back, and the exile them clause if they're put in the graveyard, like you could take that off by blinking them too. Like,
yeah, they remove that if it's just. The thing that I really love about this card is it's not hard to build a situation where this does something good. Like, if you want to play this, play a couple fetch lands in your mono white deck or your white whatever deck, and that's fine. Play some. If you're playing land tax, you might just have to discard them, right? Like to hand size, and then this lets you play them.
What I kind of appreciate about this card, I'm just thinking of the few times I've played it, but we have a friend Jesse who likes to play a lot of graveyard hate. And so unless you literally like crack your Tormod's Crypt like in response to this being cast, if you play this and then go to play your land with its ability, nobody can like stop you from doing that, right?
Yeah,
like,
you put the land into play, or you put the spell in the stack, it's no longer in the graveyard.
People can't respond to you playing your land. So you get at least the 1 land back unless they literally like blow their thing in response to this being cast.
Yeah, and then maybe in that case you you find somebody to discard a card and then play it or whatever, Maybe sacrifice a creature and then play it again. Something like that. But yeah, it's just it's just nice, Good.
This is a great card. I think this is a very
it's got a good body,
kind of staple-y type like recursion card. It is kind of expensive, so that's something to keep in mind. But
take that with a grain of salt.
Very powerful, very much worth it, I'd say.
Yeah. And so our next set, which I think we only have 1 card from, is the Warhammer set.
Oh yeah, I wanted to kind of tie this in with the that hawk, the scouting hawk.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Because this is another like similar version of that effect, like at a lower rarity. I mean, I'm assuming I don't think this card would be very expensive, but it is from the Warhammer Precon, and some people might not.
Yeah,
like
it's like a buck
Warhammer
or less
thing, in Magic, but whatever. 3 mana, 2/1, first strike and vigilance. That's surprisingly like good.
Surprisingly attacks every turn.
And then when it enters the battlefield, if an opponent has more lands than you may search for a Plains card.
Yeah, the other one was basic.
Yeah, this could be non-basic.
Yeah.
Put it on the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. So just another catch-up ramp creature with a pretty decent body for 3 mana.
Also skull rampable.
Yeah. So pretty cool to see more and more of those. So that's just a consistent thing now.
All right, for our last set of the year, we've got the Brothers War from November of this year, and we got a couple things to talk. We're not going to, we're talking about a lot of cards. You can't talk about them all, but there's some heaters in here.
Yeah, should we talk about how we got bamboozled first?
Sure.
There was an early leak of the card Myrel, Shield of Argive, which she's a 4 mana 3/4. But what was the leaked version? Like 2 mana 2/2?
It was a 2 mana 2/2 as like someone pranked us.
Yeah, aside from that, I think it had the exact same like text box. But yeah, I don't hate it as a 4 mana 3/4 because it says during your turn, your opponents can't cast spells or activate abilities of artifacts, creatures, or enchantments. So it's like the Grand Abolisher, which is a surprisingly expensive card.
This one too, though, unfortunately.
This one also is, yeah, but this one also does some other cool stuff. And it says, when it attacks, you create X 1/1 colorless soldier artifact creature tokens, where X is the number of soldiers you control.
Shout out
she
to
is
Shivam,
a soldier, so
right? Shout out to Shivam.
Yeah, Shivam is a good soldier deck. Yeah, it's really good for it.
No, but like you were saying, Eli, like Grand Abolisher, really strong card, right? Like we love stopping our opponents from interacting with us, especially if you're playing something like an equipment deck or maybe even, God, who knows, a combo deck.
The blue Magic players always like to shove up their glasses and say no, and I say we say no to no.
No, but yeah, this card's really cool. Probably don't have a lot to say about it, but it's just solid, right?
It's really strong, right? Like,
yeah.
Even at 4 mana, the 2 mana one was too good to be true, right? Like strictly better, like Grand Abolisher.
Like super strictly better Grand Abolisher. That was too good to be true. But I was like, when I saw that, I was like, what the fuck?
I got my little brother into Commander over the last few months, and a friend of his plays Magic too, and was thinking of making a Commander deck. And Sean showed me this card and said, "This is what Gage is going to make as his Commander deck." And I was surprised to see somebody like kind of getting into Commander, like going straight for the mono white Commander. Like I like to see that.
We stand that, yeah.
And that would be a really strong Commander, right?
Yeah, no, especially if you could maybe play, there's got to be some good soldiers in the game, right?
Yeah, and even just like by itself or like with generic like good white soldiers, like creating like a couple and that's going to be more and more every turn because it makes the soldiers. So
I mean, even just let's imagine like kind of a dream scenario or something, right? Like maybe you play like a soldier on 1, maybe like a lightning greaves and a soldier on 3. On 4 you're putting the greaves on and attacking and making 3 dudes, and then the next turn you're making like 6 or something like that. I mean, it's not bad.
It keeps doubling up.
Yeah.
So that's really nice.
And we love. I would be remiss to mention that because there's what's the card called? The one that makes a 1/1 for each opponent. Send it going at each opponent. But the point is, we love skull clamping 1/1s. That's all I'm saying. We love that. Okay.
Yeah, and then we got yet another card draw card.
Yeah.
In this set. A pretty good one. Takesha's Welcome, 3 mana enchantment. Whenever 1 or more creatures with mana value 3 or less enter the battlefield under your control, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. So this is very reminiscent of like Welcoming Vampire, although it's tied to mana value rather than power.
Yeah.
Which I think I've seen a lot of people talking about this sort of thing, and I think people generally feel this is a little bit better because the other one can be like shut off by like an anthem that people like to play anthems. I mean, less so like us, but
other people do. But yeah, it's really great, and notably, tokens have 0 CMC, so if you have your tokens enter...
Yeah, and there's a decent amount of like cards you can play where it allows you to make tokens on other people's turn, like Major Luminarch Ascension, and start drawing cards.
You're Heliod, god of whatever.
Yeah, or just like we were talking about Shivam earlier, like Keldern Outpost is actually a card that I really like, so I like holding that up and just being able to draw a card off of it.
Yeah, or like we were saying earlier, like you play a blink spell on an opponent's turn, you get your extra card off it, right?
Amazing.
Yeah, we love that.
Just a very good role player type of card, and it's an enchantment too, so like somebody board wipes you, like you're not really unless they farewell you, then
there you go,
then get fucked,
Yeah, but you're keeping it around unless like enchantment removal is I think less common for sure than other types.
Definitely, yeah. But speaking of enchantment removal, and last but not least, we've got I think maybe our pick for best card of the year.
I honestly think this might be my favorite card of the year, full stop, of all colors. I just love it so much.
You want to do the honors?
Sure, I'd love to. This is Loran of the Third Path. And this is a card... Well, let me just read it. It's a 3-mana 2/1 legendary creature, Human Artificer, with Vigilance. And it says, when Loran of the Third Path enters the battlefield, destroy up to 1 target artifact or enchantment. So, Reclamation Sage stats and ability. But then it also has this ability of tap, you and target opponent each draw a card. So it's like Rec Sage plus. And we love that.
How many years have Commander players been saying, why isn't there a white Rec Sage?
Probably 4 or 5.
It's like the thing with Plarg and me saying, why isn't there a 2-mana red Rummager? And then WotC comes along and they make one that's like strictly better than that in like 3 different ways. Yeah. Like in all ways but it being legendary, I suppose.
This is that for Reclamation Sage.
It's crazy, like Vigilance. And it draws you cards, like... I mean, Rec Sage has to destroy something too, right? Like,
yeah,
this says up to 1. Like,
maybe not, but I don't know.
It's just
it's
amazing.
Crazy. So Rec Sage is a card that I kind of treat kind of as like an auto include like role player card in all of my green decks. Maybe not literally all of them, but the ability to just like get it back from the graveyard, reanimate it, do stuff like that. ETBs are always great, but in White, they're even better because you have Sun Titan effects, you have Blink effects to just utilize this time after time again and again. It's really good. And, just to talk about, we were mentioning those cards that like, good old like Smuggler's Share and stuff like that, where they trigger on your opponent's turns if they draw like 2 cards or something.
Yeah.
This lets you do that. It facilitates that. It's so great.
I think I had seen... because this is a sort of card that I might play like a Spirit of the Labyrinth or something.
Yeah.
And you could like use this on somebody's turn on them, and then you draw the card and they don't. So I think I had seen like some like Legacy like deck or something that it was like a Death and Taxes or something.
That sounds sick. But the floor of this card is like so high. Like at the very worst, it's a Rec Sage with Vigilance.
Or if they have a Torpor Orb or something, it still does something. It draws you cards. Like.
Oh, yeah. Man, I love it so much.
And pretty affordable, too, right?
Yeah, I think it's only a couple bucks. It's
less than $5.
Less than $5, yeah.
So, yeah, pick those up, because that's never going to be bad.
This is a card that I would say is, for me, an auto-include white card. And that's hard for me to say, but this is one of those for me.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I think I would never... think worse of somebody for playing a Loran. Like it's never gonna be bad. Like it's impossible that this could ever be bad.
Yeah.
Because like I said, even if there's no artifacts or enchantments in play, like it doesn't have to destroy something. So like if you don't have anything to kill, like you can still play it out and just be like, oh, I'm just gonna draw cards.
Yeah, I'm like, bro, I'm actually like flabbergasted right now at like Rec Sage is a good card in Commander, and this is it's so much better than Rec Sage by orders of magnitude better. Honestly, I really do value that like you and target opponent each draw a card effect a lot.
Yeah, I like this card a lot in your Aurelia deck because you can attack with it, and then with like the Aurelia trigger to untap all your creatures on the stack. Yeah. You tap it to draw a card. It'll get untapped, and you can attack with it again. And then tap it on the end step like before your turn, like so you can get 2 cards out of it every turn.
Mm-hmm, it's great. And you know what? Maybe one day someone will suit it up with a bunch of equipment and give it Vigilance, and it'll be swinging in, getting your triggers.
Yeah, like that Vigilance is super nice too. Like,
I mean, like an early creature, like I could see you play this on 3 or something, blow up someone's Ristic Study, then on turn 4 you play like a Sword of the Animus and just put it on, right? Like that's perfect mana curve.
Wonderful.
Yeah, love that card, but. I think that's our white dive, a dive into the white cards, the white Christmas of
certainly
this year.
Has been a white Christmas. It has been Christmas for us this year. Like, it's just too many good cards. Like,
and we left off 20, 30 good cards, honestly.
Yeah, like, it's honest. I was surprised looking through here, the sheer amount of white cards that drew cards, because we weren't even, like, restricting it to that. Just, like, that just happened to be a common theme, and... we were talking before we recorded this, I really appreciate how I think white kind of has this stigma in Commander of just being like really annoying and overly reactive, and I like to play that way for the most part. I think that can be fun, but I think the majority of Commander players don't like to play overly reactive, like sloggy, like slow games.
Yeah, so like a lot of people maybe don't like when you play your stacks effects in white, or you're like lots of board wipes, lots of removal, stuff like that.
But the majority of the cards on our list from this year are proactive white cards that just generate you resources. They don't take things away from your opponents. They give you amazing advantage.
Or they just deal a lot of damage.
Which is great too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's a really nice direction for white in Commander, so that people can start playing it. Like, maybe we'll link it in the notes for this. But a friend of the show, well, maybe less so now. Rachel Weeks, new to the Command Zone, so we'll see.
We'll see.
She's our agent on the inside.
Yeah, we saw her. They made her do an ad for the Command Zone.
So they put a gun to her head and they said, "You are a Traxon now. Say funny things about the Praetors coming home for Christmas. It is very funny."
Do you think they made her revoke her comedian license to do that?
I think the comedians will when they find out. The Comedians Guild.
Yeah, but we love her, friend of the show. But Josh, if we announce that too loudly, Josh might come after us. We got to be careful.
But she has a mono-white Mangara the Diplomat deck that's just billed as like mono-white good stuff. And from what I've seen of it and looking at it, it just seems like a straight like mono-white like proactive deck. Just playing like all of these kind of cards.
All of the best, just like good on their own white cards. And, I think a lot of people don't see white as the good on their own individual cards color. And I think it is.
Yeah, people always say like white's the removal color, white's the board wipe color. Like it's very good at control, but it's not good at like progressing its own game plan. But I mean, as like we've seen from this year, like, dude, like now it kind of is, and it also is still good at those old things. Yeah. So it's like, you guys better watch out, like,
oh yeah,
white's
man.
Getting too strong.
All of these cards that we were, I just want to say real quick, there were a couple cards we mentioned that like incidentally gain life. Like there was the Archivist of Ogma that gives you a life as well. There was a 3-mana 2/1 Angel with Flying that also gets you a life as well as drawing a card. There was there's some other things that draw that gain you life, right? What's a good card with little 1 life gain cards? We got our boy/girl Archangel of Thune. That's an old classic that gets a lot better as we get more these cards that are just like really good that also gain a life.
Yeah.
So
I love Archangel of Thune.
Pick up that card. It's like fucking $30 or something crazy. But
well, we've had a lot of nice like happy things to say this show, and it's been a pretty good year for white, but it's also maybe been a dangerous year for white cards.
Yeah,
like they better watch out. Like they're getting hunted.
Yeah, dude. So we've been nice and happy, today, but that's really us breaking character. We're really just a bunch of, angry fucking old men.
We are haters.
Yeah,
that's the brand at this point. It's too late to change.
But there are people online who are bigger haters than we are, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So we're going to talk about kind of Discourse special about some white cards that people have been talking about. The first one was, which I think was, how long ago was this, Eli? Like a month ago? Something like that?
Probably not even a month ago. Yeah,
okay.
Pretty recent, but not as recent as the next one we're going to talk about. But yeah, so it was strange. If you'll all recall, the start of this year, I believe in February, there was a large discourse about Drannith Magistrate in Commander. Mm-hmm. And whether or not it's good for the format, whether or not it's healthy.
Whether or not it should be banned.
Yeah. And strangely enough, the year as it's come to a close, the same thing happened again.
It's like the two bookends of the year.
Yeah, and so I remember seeing a tweet from, I think it was Callahan, the originator, the first time.
Yeah.
Saying something along the lines of, if I had a nickel for every time that the Drannith Magistrate thing happened, I'd have 10 cents, but it's still strange that it happened twice.
Yep.
Now, I agree with that sentiment, but at the same time, the person who did it the second time was Ryan from Playing with Power. So it's like, motherfucker, you don't get to say that if it's your house doing it both times. That's like, Spencer, if we said it's strange that we've talked about white cards and Boros cards twice this year. Weird that happened. It's like, we made that happen.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think this started out with you said Ryan, right? He wrote he made a tweet originally talking about Drannith Magistrate, about how, the reasons why he thinks it should be banned in Commander and how it's really not healthy for the format. And we can go over that in a minute. But essentially, he got, he started the discourse like that. He got a lot of responses, and then he wrote an article, maybe flushing out his opinion in, more than 400 characters or whatever, a Twitter comment is. So, do you want, Eli, to maybe look at the tweets, or do you want to maybe try to summarize the opinions? How do you want to approach this?
So Ryan from Playing with Power, if everyone doesn't know, Playing with Power is a prominent CEDH YouTube channel, does CEDH gameplay and like podcasts and talks about CEDH, and they're very big. They're a big part of the community. But Ryan is kind of like he's like the patriarch of their crime family. Like, he's the main guy, as I understand it. He says in his tweet, "Ban Drannith Magistrate. Change my mind. It goes against the entire spirit of the format. The one that has you build entire decks around 1 to 2 cards that sit in a special area that you cannot cast if you have a Drannith Magistrate on the field."
Yeah, and then, as you might expect, people tried to change his mind. Who would have guessed, right? Who could have predicted? And then he wrote the article, which is, I don't know, if you want to read it, go ahead. It's like a 5-minute read.
It's titled it's on the Commander's Herald website, which I believe is a kind of an offshoot of EDH Rec. Like, they had some like site managers and like writers from that like come over and write about Commander, and pretty decent site. I don't frequent it a lot, but the article is titled "A Case for Banning Drannith Magistrate." And so, Ryan, he lays out his many points for banning Drannith Magistrate, and
he's got some points.
He's definitely thought about it. Like, that's general like rule. Like I was saying before we recorded this, Spencer, I was thinking, we're being a bit of haters, but our Christmas gift to the CDH community is some charity. 'Tis the season of giving.
Exactly.
And like the Christmas truce in World War I, we're going to try and like keep it peaceful with the CDH players.
But once New Year's hits, it's war.
Yeah, it's back on. Like, we don't hate CDH players. It's just like man, it must really be hard for them to like keep their giant fucking brains off the ground sometimes. That's all I'm saying.
Bro, have you seen the meme of like the guy it's the guy, and he's got like a fucking brain oozing out of his head, and he's like, how'd you get so strong? Oh, I play CDH, or whatever.
Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about that. And no, there's a lot of smart people in the CDH community, and like I'm saying, that when somebody says something like this or writes a whole article about it, in good faith you assume that they do have good reasons for thinking the things that they think.
But the one thing that I think I want to say about this is he puts a part in this where he talks about the arguments against banning Drannith Magistrate, so he kind of lays it out. He does an EDHTakes thing where he's like, I'm going to give both sides. But I feel like he's kind of biased and doesn't really give the other side very well, because he starts it off by essentially saying, there are some arguments, but there was also a lot of shit slinging in my Twitter comments about, people, complaining about me and like yelling at me and saying I'm dumb. So I don't think that's really relevant in the case of arguments against Drannith Magistrate, but, it just colors my opinion of that section.
Who could have possibly guessed that trying to have a hot take on Magic Twitter would backfire? Who could have known?
Based. No, but Eli, could I just address like a couple sentences in this that I disagree with?
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't want to go over the entire article. Like, if you want interested in his thought process, feel free to read it. I'll link it in the description. But one of the quotes that he says that I've heard other people parrot as well is, quote, "For the majority of decks, not being able to cast your commander is tantamount to not being able to play the game." And I saw that on Reddit as well recently with some stuff. And I really just can't disagree with that statement more. I really don't understand why people think that not having your commander in play or being able to cast it for maybe a couple turns, maybe the whole game, whatever, is equivalent to not playing the game. Sure, it can set you back and reduce your odds of winning, or even like make your game plan less powerful, but not play the game, not contribute to the game, that's just crazy to me.
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know a ton about CDH, so I know there are decks that get really, really hampered and shut. Like, obviously, like any deck gets hampered by this, but I know there's a few that definitely get shut down hard by a Drannith Magistrate. But I know there's definitely a lot more, like, casual decks that get shut down, like when, like you get a lot of commanders people play where it's like overly, like, everyone's like wants to show off like their 6 synergy, right?
Yeah.
So they play like 30 cards that just do stuff with their commander, and that's just how it be.
So even, that's how it be, but like, even like, if we imagine like a deck that like maybe needs their commander to win the game, like, or needs the commander to like do a lot of things to win the game, like, are those things not just also answered by like a removal spell? So like, if you're a deck that needs your commander to even like contribute to the game, if someone kills your commander, isn't that like you just not contributed to the games for 2 turns until you can play it again? Like, I don't think that argument flies. And man, like, this is like, people be like, I lose access to my commander. Yeah, but what about the other 99 cards in your deck?
I kind of like that comparison, actually, because like, what's the longer period of time, like the amount of turns, like when you lacking the mana to like recast your commander from the command zone because of commander tax, or the length of a Drannith Magistrate being on the battlefield before somebody removes it.
And it's like a lightning rod, so people are going to remove it, right? Like, people hate it.
Yeah, it's a card that like kind of incentivizes, like, commander players want to do the thing, right? Everyone always says, I just want to do my thing, right?
Yeah, that relates to the second quote I have from the article. He says, when Drannith is on the battlefield, 3 opponents now have only one goal in mind. Get Drannith off the battlefield so we can start playing commander again. Like, now, that may actually be true that that's what people do, but I think that's not very smart to do, honestly. Like, I don't think that the idea that you can't cast your commander for a small amount of time or something like that is tantamount to you not playing commander, right? Norn, I get emotional talking about this, so I apologize if I sound exasperated a little bit. But maybe it's just to extend a little bit of an olive branch. I like to play decks that function pretty well without their commander, so maybe I'm super biased in that sense, right? Like, it doesn't affect me as much as other people. But I think, at least, even if it doesn't affect me as much as other people, I think that the effect that it has on those people still is a lot less than they think it is. And this isn't me just trying to like call people stupid or whatever, but I think they're maybe in the same way that I'm getting emotional, they're also getting emotional and not looking at it exactly correctly.
Well, I think there's this common feeling. Everyone will always complain about like other players' like threat assessment, or like the feeling that you play something like a Drannith Magistrate and somebody kills it so that they can do like their pretty like medium to mediocre thing, and then they open the doors for another player or like another 2 problem players to like just do crazy shit.
Yeah, like, I think like you were kind of alluding to, Eli, I think Drannith Magistrate, now I'm not saying that it belongs in play every fucking turn of the game for every game, but it can be a really good stopgap for a lot of very powerful things that people do. Like, for example, like someone plays, like the iconic, Chulane Corvold kind of stuff, right? If you can set them back a couple turns before they can find a way to kill it, maybe even set them back 1 turn, like, that's a big game. Or, God knows, like a fucking Crick deck or something, right? A Crick deck without their commander probably still plays, but like not gonna win.
I think maybe the second biggest problem with Commander as a format is the broken commanders.
True.
Like right after like insane fast mana.
Yeah, fast mana and then the broken commanders. True.
If anything, like I feel like the worst thing that Drannith Magistrate ever did is that it doesn't stop like commander ninjutsu, right?
True. Yeah. Another thing with Drannith Magistrate is like people will say like, okay, but what about like these super synergy decks, like decks that like rely on your commander being in play, like maybe what's the one where everyone draws a card, extra card a turn, they take damage. You know what I'm saying? Grixis. Everyone takes damage when they draw cards.
Nekusar,
yeah, like a Nekusar deck, right? Like, you might think, that's a card where the commander being in play is tantamount to winning, to doing the thing, right? But like, what do you put in your Nekusar deck? 4, 5, 6 cards that have that effect again? Other ways to make people draw more cards?
Well, isn't a big piece of wisdom like espoused by I think the Command Zone and like other commander podcasts and stuff is that you should have redundancy for effects, and and definitely your commander too, right? Because like commanders be dying, like that's just a thing that happens.
Yeah, like I don't know, man. Like, does it feel better if you spend your mana on your commander and then immediately get it killed? Like, does that feel better than not being able to play it? That doesn't feel better.
If anything, Drannith Magistrate is saving the commanders from
exactly.
being killed. It's like, I've been getting my little brother into Commander, like I said earlier, and he plays, I built him in a Nala wizard deck. So Nala has Eminence, so you really don't need to play the commander.
She really doesn't do much.
But I keep trying to tell him, like, hey, you should just play her sometimes. And he's like, no, she's safe in there.
And unless they play like an oubliette or something, right?
At this point, he's decided he's not going to play her because he knows that it bothers me to like see him like not like use 5 mana sometimes. And he's just like, I don't care, like it's funny.
He's the spirit of the format, Eli.
He really is, yeah. He gets it, yeah.
Yeah, man, like the Drannith Magistrate stuff just bothers me, especially because the discourse seems to always come from CEDH players. Or at least not all the, but a lot of times it does, right? Because I don't think a lot of casual players even play the card.
Which I would not expect. Like, I mean, I get that they see it more often, right? But I would not expect that to be like the highest of their concerns, right?
I've seen a lot of CDH player, and by a lot of I mean I think it was mentioned in this article that one of the things that the Drannith Magistrate does is it stops like the Tymna player from playing his card draw engine in the command zone. It's like, okay, are you owed playing Tymna in your CDH game? Like, is that something? Is that the end of your game?
I think many more Commander players would argue something like Tymna was a mistake rather than Drannith Magistrate, right?
Yeah, I could see that.
I mean, people will say like Partners or like the generic like value engine like Partners as being like just kind of a cheap thing that kind of just makes the game a little too easy in some ways.
And people use the argument of like just have removal and stuff like that, which I agree. Like it's not like it's protected by anything, but I just want to say like there's so many cards in Commander where they say they essentially read on their text box, remove this before my turn starts again or lose the game. And Drannith Magistrate says, remove this whenever you want to start playing the game, kind of. Right? And that's what they would say. I mean, I think you're still playing the game with it in play, but you know what I mean? Like, it's not like a remove on site or lose card.
That might explain it, Spencer. Maybe the worst thing to a CDH player is the idea that the game goes like longer. I don't know.
Eli, we have a truce, Eli.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I mean, I could see that though. Like, I don't want to spend like 3
hours on
like that's the argument for like stacks or like those kind of like prohibitive effects. Like being annoying is it makes the game go longer. So if that's not what you're looking for, I can see how you would hate cards like that.
And
I don't know.
Maybe it's the case that CDH decks are more and more focused. Now I'm not trying to generalize them, but like maybe some decks, like for example, Godo is an iconic CDH deck, right? And I would imagine that Godo decks are kind of focused on just doing Godo as fast as possible, right? And if your deck is focused on just doing one thing as fast as possible, and that one thing is your commander being in play, like I can see why you might be upset at something like a Drannith Magistrate. But I don't think that's what happens in the majority of, I'm going to say, casual decks, meaning under CDH, not CDH.
Maybe so we got the big brain of people saying like, oh, play Lightning Bolt or play Fatal Push or whatever to kill a Drannith Magistrate in CDH. We got the galaxy brain here of play Command Beacon to get around Drannith Magistrate.
Do you want to know the other galaxy brain thing? You don't want to know the other galaxy brain, Eli? Is play good cards in your deck that don't have to be cast from your command zone.
No, like, impossible.
No, you can't play the game. I just want to say I want to apologize right now because I'm being very sarcastic and very dismissive, and I want to say I am, like I said, I was being emotional, but like I'm not trying to be super assholes to people. I'm just passionate, okay? And it's and passion is a free excuse to be as rude as possible. Everyone knows that. That was sarcasm.
No, it's okay. We're fine. Like Playing with Power has like a million times more subscribers than we do. So
we're punching up. Nothing I could do against them could be morally wrong.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, they seem like nice guys, and like I said, like they definitely thought about this a lot. It's just and they've given the reasons and like made the argument, like wrote a whole article about it. So like, unless you're literally like insane, like I feel like writing a whole article about that sort of thing like proves like a level of passion and thought about it. So
I think the most parroted and maybe the most convincing, like I don't have a good argument against it, is people just say it's Commander, I want to play my Commander. And to that I can't really say anything other than like I view the format differently, right? Like that's my argument against that. And if that's how you view it, and that's the case, then I guess you have some ground to stand on, right? Like you can't really like tell someone that, the thing that they want to do is like, in that sense, like they're wrong for wanting to play their commander. But I just think you can have a lot of fun in Commander, even without the ability to play your commander some 4 turns out of a 9-turn game or something.
Yeah, so I think that's about all we have to say about the Drannith discussion. Part 2.
Yeah, part 2.
Yeah, it's crazy that they've been thinking about this for pretty much a year at this point, because they're all both times same crew.
Yeah, but no, Drannith Magistrate should not be banned. That's our verdict here.
Yeah,
and it's well, actually, Eli, one thing that we're trying to move on, but one thing that I think you brought up to me earlier was that it might be like kind of bad to play Drannith Magistrate sometime, because you're kind of like suiciding yourself, because when you play a Drannith Magistrate, everybody sees red, and it's like 2-for-1ing yourself, because they're just gonna kill it. And if that's gonna happen, better that it's a 2-mana card, right? Better 2-mana card than your
better 2-mana card than a 5-mana card, right?
Yeah. Do you guys know any white 5-mana cards that people might want to remove?
So, moving on, in keeping with, Eternal spoiler season, right?
Yeah.
And this is something I'm kind of excited. I don't hate Eternal spoiler season, honestly. Like, it does make it hard to, like, keep up with, like, cards. So I am losing my powers for, like, knowing every white card.
But it just means whenever you want to look at some new cards, there's new cards.
And there was a card that I was very much looking forward to seeing, because we've gotten new Praetors over the last year. Or more than a year, because we had the first one in Kaldheim last year.
It was so long ago.
But I've been looking forward to the new Elesh Norn, because she is my girlfriend.
Exactly.
As we know, like,
which is much more appropriate than calling her your mommy, which I've seen a lot of people do.
Yeah, we got the new Elesh Norn, Mother of Machines. And so this was a very powerful card. It was a 5-mana, 4/7 legendary Praetor, and Phyrexian Praetor.
With Vigilance, right?
Yeah. With Vigilance.
Yeah.
And as the Praetors be doing, they have one positive ability for you, and then one opposite of that negative ability for your opponent. So this one, by the way, 5-mana, 4/7.
That's a big boy.
That is pretty big.
Yeah.
Like for a white card.
Try attacking into that, Lamau.
Yeah, that's really amazing. But the really crazy part is she has this ability. She says, if a permanent entering the battlefield under your control would cause an ability to trigger, it triggers an additional time.
Yeah.
So kind of a Panharmonicon.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, the negative part of her, she says, if a permanent entering the battlefield under an opponent's control would cause an ability they control to trigger, doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of a Torpor Orb, Hushbringer
plus,
type effect.
I think Torpor Orb is for everyone though, right? Or is that not true?
Yeah, Torpor Orb is everyone.
Yeah, so this is
like all the other ones are like symmetrical.
Yeah, and this one is not on you, and yours are doubled actually. So
yeah,
pretty strong, like just effect that it has, right? And we were talking earlier about how Blink is one of the better things that White can be doing, and this is kind of I think Josh in the new Game Nights he played Elesh Norn, and
they got an early use of this card,
and he said one of the great things about this is your Blink creatures kind of turn into quadrupling your effects, because you get to blink 2 creatures and they both come in and get twice.
He played a Charming Prince in that game to a very great effect, and just played a lot of creatures that come in and kill something. And was pretty much able to minor spoilers for Game Nights, but he kind of just controlled the entire game by pretty much 2-for-1ing everyone else's creatures.
Didn't even cost him a ton of mana. He just play a 3-drop here, play a 1-drop here, play a blink spell.
Yeah, and meanwhile Elesh Norn also I think notably shut off a Dockside Extortionist that game, and an Avenger of Zendikar, and probably some other cards that people just didn't play because they wouldn't have done anything.
Yep. So I mean, we're not gonna be here saying that Elesh Norn isn't a strong card, right? It obviously does strong things. But, there was a discourse about Elesh Norn, notably an article written by Sheldon Menery of the Rules Committee.
Friend of the show.
And, it was released on December 22nd, so a couple days ago. We're recording this on the 24th, just for clarity.
Yeah, this is a fresh drama.
Yeah, or I guess technically the 23rd, but it's past midnight, so we're cringe.
Yeah, Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas Eve. Yeah, so Sheldon goes into, I'll link it in the description, but he pretty much goes into he doesn't like the card very much. He thinks it's not very healthy for the format. I think one thing that people really didn't like was that I think he said, because the rules committee members have some sort of avenue talking to Wizards, like Wizards approaches them and asks them what they think of cards.
Which I think is a great thing.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing.
In the post-Dockside Extortionist, post-Commander Legends rule, like world, like...
Yeah. And I think Sheldon maybe said, like, hey, I don't think this is a very good card, like a very healthy card for the format as is right now. I wouldn't recommend printing it like this. They did anyway. That's, as is their right to do as Wizards, right? But people thought people really... The reaction to this article was astoundingly negative from a large portion of the community, and maybe I would even say vitriolic.
So I want to also draw attention to the fact that this article, it's titled Elesh, Norn, Mother of Machines, the good and the bad.
Yeah,
so he talks about some good things about the card, it's just his personal opinion, his evaluation on it. And like you said, the bit about him mentioning the rules committee, or him talking to people at Wizards and being hey, I don't think you should do this. That upset people, but nowhere in this this article does he necessarily say we are going to ban this card or we think we should ban this card.
Yeah.
He says he thinks it might have a certain effect on the format and the health of the format, and if it does, they'll do something maybe, but they probably won't.
Well, there's I think 5 members of the rules committee.
I think it'd
4,
be
5, 6?
6 now.
Whatever it is.
With, Jim and Olivia.
You guys do know that Sheldon isn't the entire rules committee. He's not a monolith that decides everything. Sure, he can try to convince people, but they have to come to a consensus.
I think he is just he exists to draw aggro for everything the rules committee ever does.
Bro, he's taunting them in a MMO or something.
He's really their tank.
He's a shield, yeah.
He's kind of like Shivam, on Magic Twitter. He just comes out when people are angry about something else, and he's just no, I will shoulder this.
Do you know that meme with the army guy standing with his arms outstretched?
It's really that.
And he's shielding the woman and the child.
Yeah,
from a bunch of bullets and arrows coming in. That's Shivam. He's shielding the rest of the rules committee.
Yeah, Shivam and Sheldon, people with the sh names, that. I think EDH Twitter just thinks that they need to shut up, right?
Yeah. So there was I get it. The shut up. I see what you're doing there, but yeah. So there was a big discourse on Twitter as well as on Reddit, our favorite place, about Shivam's or not Shivam, sorry, Sheldon's article, and
Shivam stayed out of this one.
Yeah, good for him.
He's it's your turn, Sheldon.
Yeah. But the meta conversation, my take on the conversation is that there was a lot of negativity thrown towards Sheldon's character, his intelligence, stuff like that I super disavow. There were people that were disagreeing respectfully, which is great, but it took a while for those to get upvoted, and the Reddit threads were very mean. Did not like that. There's one on REDH and one on RCEDH, I believe.
Yeah, there was on the REDH discussion and post, there was a good response to that I liked, of somebody saying that they generally don't like Sheldon that much. They don't agree with a lot of his opinions, but they said they really respect and appreciate that Sheldon, despite being on the rules committee, does not allow his personal opinions and feelings about cards and Commander as a whole to affect his actions and his behavior on the rules committee, or try to influence the other members of the rules committee to necessarily see things exactly how he does.
Well, yeah, because how there's this whole thing in the rules committee, they have a Discord where they talk with everybody, and to get a feel for the format. They have a commander advisory group that try to give a lens into players' opinions on these cards, and these all factor into their decisions. It's not just Sheldon hearing them and ignoring them. If let's say he's at a 10 of I hate this card, I want it banned. If he hears, the rules or the advisory group and everyone online not thinking it's a problem, I'm imagining what he's going to bring to the rules committee discussions is going to be closer to a 5.
Yeah, and if you really disagree with Sheldon, you got to know, it's I really don't think that the rules committee, that they're just like this hive mind, like they all think exactly the same way, and people would always make that kind of that attack, being like, oh, it's just like it's these old dudes like that just play like in their own little insular play group, and like they ignore everything.
We're
else.
banning whatever Sheldon lost to this week.
Yeah,
that's so dishonest.
And that's especially like not the case anymore with like Jim and Olivia now, and like with the keg like being such a big influence. And like I get that people don't like the idea that the rules committee might be influencing like Magic design for like other formats in any kind of way.
That makes sense. That's fair.
But at the same time, like despite like there being that door of communication between Wizards and the rules committee, I don't think Wizards would allow themselves to be overly influenced by anything the rules committee said, unless it was really like something that was very agreeable, right?
True, and I would say I'd much rather. This is maybe not a very popular opinion, but I'd rather if Wizards were to have a door to one person or community that could maybe give them feedback and influence on the format, I'd rather it be Sheldon than Reddit, personally. Or Magic Twitter either. The thing that I'll always want to remind people and point out about Sheldon, like regardless of what you think about him, like his opinion, sometimes I disagree with him all the time. Like I wouldn't have even like discussed like this Elesh Norn like in this kind of context, which is why I feel like to victim blame a little bit. Like Sheldon, he's got to know that people are gonna like bully the shit out of him when he says stuff like this. Yeah, but he still does it. He still gets his opinion out there. And you know why he does that? Because he's got character, I guess. But Sheldon actually worked at Wizards to help them on one year of the Commander Precons, and that was the Strixhaven Commander. And he helped design the Silver Quill deck. And I'd like to note that year of Commander decks, and this has kind of been I feel like we've been pretty safe in like the last couple of years, but there was not a single card that I can recall in those decks that people could look at and be like, oh my god, this is terrible, this is bad for the format, this is toxic, this is a negative card. Especially coming right after Commander Legends, which had three of them, right? You had Hullbreaker, we had Hullbreacher, the Jeweled Lotus, and Opposition Agent. Yeah, three of them that you could argue, Jessica's Will and too, four of them maybe you could argue are like super toxic for the format. And I'm not trying to attribute all of Wizards' good things to Sheldon, but he certainly has a little bit of an influence on maybe helping them with that. Well, and sure, like within any year of Commander products, you still get like the deck that has like the chase cards. Like you had like the Osgear deck that year that had some pretty good things, like Archaeomancer's Mount. Yeah, that's a good one. But the deck that Sheldon specifically helped work on, I think was maybe one of the most like tame. Like Brina aside, Brina's pretty strong, but like not in like a super toxic or abusive way. Not in like a Corvold way, but it is strong. Yeah, but that deck like was just kind of like, I think it was like a very nice, like fun Commander deck that's just like a good example of like what a lot of people like out of the format. Yeah, like one of my favorite cards from that entire like Commander collection was the Ink Shield, and I think that was from that deck, right? Or am I mistaken? Yeah, and that's a really cool card. Saying like the cards were good or like the decks were good, like that's a very subjective thing, but I think objectively you have to say like nothing out of that year was broken or like harmful to the format. So at least like I feel like he's got a good grasp on that. So like when he says like he thinks something is harmful for the format, like Elesh Norn, I think he's saying that for reasons. Like he's got good reasons for that. And one thing that I think a criticism I've heard levied at Sheldon here multiple times from multiple sources, both of the EDH, both of the Reddit threads, the Twitter as well, is that people keep saying that Sheldon is so out of touch with the format. And I don't know how, like, I think that comes, now we have our truce with the CEDH community, but I think that comes from a progressive shift in Commander towards, like, extremely powerful Commander. And hey, I love some powerful Commander too. Well, yeah, Eli. We have, like, we did that episode. We have this whole optimization culture in Commander where everyone's like, you've got to see things in their the best way they could be. Like, you have to like be trying to like always be better and like do better things. And like Sheldon just comes from like a group of Commander players and like a generation of Commander players where they just, that is not their intent. He may be out of touch with to some extent with some of this stuff, but maybe that's a good thing, honestly. maybe he's in the right place.
I also want to clarify. His main arguments against Elesh Norn are not from a power level perspective, that he thinks it is too strong, it's prohibitively oppressive or overpowered. It's because Elesh Norn is a very efficient combination of two things that I feel like most commander decks really would want. And so he's saying it might be an overly ubiquitous mono white card or even mono white commander.
Yeah, I think he was saying it might be what I called was it low real, whatever that card is called, the Loran. I called Loran an auto include card, but maybe it's not a super offensive auto include card. But I think Sheldon might consider Elesh Norn a literal auto include card, right?
Yeah, and especially if you're I think a thing commander players really love is Panharmonicon type cards.
Can I interrupt you for a second there? Mm-hmm. I really do think I don't want to go over it now, but I think there's a fair argument that doubling effects are a mistake and they're on their own right.
Yeah, I think I saw some takes about that, and yeah,
I'm not sure if I agree, but there's an argument for it. But yeah, you're talking about how commander players love Panharmonicon effects.
Well, so many commander players wanting to make a cool proactive mono white deck might just be oh, Elesh Norn's just maybe one of the best mono white commanders now.
I never explained anything else.
So that being one of the most popular mono white commanders means that people are seeing the Torpor Orb, the asymmetrical effect like that, in more and more games, and that's really causing some bad games and some bad feelings and stuff. And if Elesh Norn became the most popular mono white commander, do you think I don't know, do you think that would be an enjoyable experience? That's just the thing that's going to happen when you make good cards.
Yeah, but I'm not generally I'll stand by people's rights to play Torpor Orb, even if it makes for a less fun game because I'm stupid like that. But I don't think, if it became the norm that every one or two commander games had Torpor Orb in the command zone, it's probably going to lead to less fun, right?
And now there's another side of this argument, though, Spencer, that Elesh Norn facing off when it's across the table from you will actually cause you to have more fun because I can play all my bounce lands with no downside now. That's just free ramp.
Based.
I can play my Phyrexian Dreadnought, whatever that 1 mana 13/13 is, not have to sacrifice my creatures.
I can play Phage and not lose the game.
Exactly. I don't have to worry about just dying when I play my Phage anymore. That was a real big inconvenience. I used to do that all the time.
Unless I think it's an enters the battlefield trigger, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can play my Leveler and not have to exile my library.
Why am I playing Leveler if I'm not trying to do that? I don't know. But
it's badass.
I mean, I'm sure there's some cards that have downsides on enter the battlefield. There's some shitty cards that are when it enters the battlefield, discard a card or sacrifice this creature.
So if anything, Elesh Norn is, I think it's saving the lives of a lot of commander players that were just going to lose to their own Phage, their own Leveler, skip turns with their Eater of Days.
Oh, based.
That was a big problem in Commander. And I think Elesh Norn has saved that. So, Sheldon, I'd like you to consider that position. But yeah, anyways, people need to just leave Sheldon alone. You know what, Sheldon? You know what you should do? You should just, hide. Because you're not safe here. I would just like to just protect Sheldon from the evils of the Commander community.
Well, that being said, I just want to, for the record, if it wasn't clear, I'm sure it probably was clear, but if it wasn't clear, Eli, you and I both think that Elesh Norn is not a bannable card, right? We think it's maybe it's strong but not bannable for the format. Would you say that?
I mean, I'm at the point where I've realized I just don't have the correct perspective to know exactly what needs. I mean, I think something like Hull Breacher, that was a card I would say definitely needs to be banned. That was one of my most hated cards ever.
Let me say it a different way. It's not an obviously needs to be banned card.
I think so. I mean, I think the people always get into this when the discussion happens, saying, well, there's 10 or so other cards that I would ban first.
I think our boy PJ tweeted, I have 150 cards that should be banned first.
And he's not lying. He has a list.
He has a list. But Elesh Norn is not at the top of that list, I suppose.
No, I don't think so. It's very good. It's just the thing that I wanted to tie these discussions, these dramas and discourses back into with our show topic is, man, strange that out of these two discourses about banning or like, cards, they're both white cards. I thought white wasn't good enough, but at the same time, we gotta ban the white cards.
It's always like that. White always gets the broken card. Remember when green used to do that? Why does green card get to do that?
So make up your damn minds, Commander players.
You can't have them both.
Are they too good or not good enough? I don't know. That's not. I get that's not the point, but I just thought it's kind of funny how that works out. It is a little funny. Elesh Norn, though, very strong white card.
Very strong white card, and I look forward to spending $55 on an Elesh Norn one day.
Yeah, and I want to tell people, everyone watching game nights and then being like, I gotta make my sick Elesh Norn deck. In real life, people are going to kill your Elesh Norn.
Yeah, even though it didn't happen in game nights, doesn't mean it's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's going to happen a lot, I feel like. I mean, you can make an argument that sometimes it's going to be harder for people to kill your Elesh Norn because their Ravenous Chupacabra will not do that anymore. And that's a lot of people. Like, I feel like we play most of our removal is in that form.
I love me some ETB removal. Oh man, it makes me so happy.
But at the same time, you've got a large portion of commander players that are like, you should play 13 to 20 removal spells in every commander deck.
And so, all instant speed and all cheap mana and everything like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so, but you're playing mono white, the best color in commander now. So you'll have the mana and you'll have the cards. Everything's going to be okay.
Your mileage may vary.
But yeah, what do we say? We wrap the Christmas special up here, Spencer.
Yeah, well, we appreciate everyone that sits through and listens to this whole terrible episode of EDHTakes. But we're gonna. I know we've like I said, I joked about it at the start of the episode. Your bicentennial or whatever episode.
It's a special little Christmas treat.
We're going to try to put more videos out, but, life comes at you fast, and we got a lot of things going on a lot of time.
We have something we need to discuss. You got some good news here. Good news, bad news?
Yeah, so it's not a permanent thing, but I'm going to be out of town. I got a new job, and I have to leave town for a couple months, starting in mid-January till about, early March. So there probably, unless we can manage to get some videos recorded before then, there probably won't be too many videos uploaded at that point because, just harder to do that. I don't think we really want to record online very much. So maybe a little bit of a drought for a little bit, but I'm sure all of our loyal viewers are not... They're used to us not uploading videos, right?
Maybe what we'll do is I'll just learn how to do all the editing and stuff and drag out our friend Gigas and start recording EDHTakes.
True. You can't replace me that easily, Eli.
I literally can't. You do everything.
But, so there might be a month or two where there's not a lot coming out, but...
We're going to try and do some stuff before that, though. We kind of have a winter break here. Like, I'm off school before the semester starts up, so we're going to try and get out maybe another video or two before the end of the year.
And maybe a couple in January to hold you over.
Early January. But yeah, I mean, this was a fun episode, and I'd really like to know what our listeners have to say about the Drannith Magistrate discussion. Give us some perspective from the CEDH community, and I'd like to apologize for our transgressions.
Yeah, against the CEDH community. Let us know if you've carved Sheldon's name into a bullet yet, because it kind of seems like people are approaching that point.
Yeah, I'd like to hear what people think about Sheldon, and I don't know, I feel like he's a pretty cool guy. Like I kind of like Sheldon. I mean, I'm just kind of... I like to like an underdog. I like to like
underdog
who
story.
people
Everyone
hate.
loves
Like
it.
I like to be a contrarian. That's why we like mono white so much. And, it's been a great year for mono white and a great year for EDHTakes. If we don't get another episode out before the end of the year, I'd like to say thanks to all of our viewers for sticking with us and helping us get up there in subscribers. And it's my goal to see us to at least 1,000 subscribers, and then we can cancel the show. So I mean, don't take that to heart. We're gonna keep going.
Ignore that part. But
that's just a nice little life goal I have.
I wonder if anyone actually listens to these long outro ramblings we do when we talk about the future of the channel. But one thing that I do, one thing we've aspired to do for a long time and never got out to do it because, one thing I'll give a lot of Commander content creators is logistically recording, recording either, vlog type content or like, top-down gameplay content or like skits or something. It takes some effort. Like logistically getting the cameras to do that and like setting that up is actually kind of difficult.
Big respect. I mean, for all the things you can say about the Magic community, bunch of hard workers.
So as I was saying, at some point we do plan on trying to make some more variety of content besides just the tier lists and the podcast, but like I'm saying, it's hard and we're lazy. So
yeah, that's also how like we differ from the other rest of the community is we're much lazier. Yeah, it is much easier to destroy than create.
Yeah, and this isn't don't take this the wrong way, but like we haven't seen a penny from this podcast. That's not why we do it. We don't really get anything out of it more than except for what we put in, right?
Yeah, we pretty much are just doing it to try and cost other creators money.
It's a labor of love, and we feel like we have important things to say, so we're very narcissistic in that sense.
Yeah, it's fun.
It is a lot of fun.
You got to enjoy doing something like this, and so sometimes if we don't have anything to say, we just don't force it. So if we come up with a good thing to talk about or like good ideas, like we'll do it. And life happens. We try and work when we can, but we're gonna try and get better. That's maybe a New Year's resolution.
Yeah, and unlike some other channels, EDHTakes is EDHTakes. It's Elijah and Spencer. It's not you won't see EDHTakes with a new co-host.
We don't consume other better podcasts and destroy them.
I want to say this. I have to caveat everything I say because I don't want people to think I'm just hate people. But I really, I do prefer the Jimmy and Josh Command Zone versus the, and we'll give DJ some credit too. But I'm not a big fan of the intermingling of all
match,
the.
Yeah,
I mean, like. It can make for good episodes, but I like
life is scary and I need consistency, so.
Mm-hmm. Then again, we all have our Command Zone favorites.
Oh yeah.
Got to keep those secret though, so maybe share your favorite Command Zone employee.
Yeah, everyone go check out the new game nights though. That is I will give a shout out. Go and check out the Command Zone, and you know what? Give some support to Dan Sheehan of the Commander Sphere podcast, because that podcast is not destroyed. He's going to do something with it, but he's going to need the support now that Rachel's been stolen from him.
Also, the new Game Nights, minor spoiler, or maybe major spoiler, it was actually a good episode because there wasn't an early fast mana like ritual effect. There wasn't like a Dockside on turn 4 or a Jessica's Will on turn 3. So it's actually a good game.
Amazing how the bar to like just feel like okay about that is like there was only a turn 2 Soul Ring into Mana Rock. That was the worst thing that happened.
Yeah, it
wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
Oh, Commander. But anyways, thank you everyone for listening. I hope everyone has an amazing holiday break and a Merry Christmas. Please subscribe the video, share it with people, and leave us some cool comments.
Very true. Thank you guys, and enjoy your holidays.